Will ask you this about, is French like a requirement? And I would say, lots of people would say, no, you can't find a job in France without English, but I will definitely say it's going to be hard. It will definitely be hard if you do not speak a word of French. Bonjour mes amis, ça va? I hope you guys are doing well today. So we are doing a video indoors today because, you know, it is cold outside, okay? It's really cold. No guys, it's just generally I wanted to do this. I hadn't done this in a while. I wanted to do a bit of you know, talking about living abroad. You know, I haven't done that in a bit, so I do want to do a bit of that for on my channel as well. It's not only about vlogging, shopping, you know, travel. We haven't traveled in a bit. We need to do some of that too. We have missed out on a bit of travel, but it's coming up. Don't worry guys, I have you. I've got you. Leading on to that, I'm actually going to be going back home in the next week or so. So I'm just not going to be, excuse me if I'm not as active as I'm supposed to be. I really will try to get as much content out and obviously show you my home country, South Africa, and what we're going to be getting up to. I'm not going to be gone for long, just a 2-week holiday. Fortunately, a girl's gotta work, so it's just gonna be a bit of time just the family and seeing everybody. Showing you a bit of South Africa because, as you know, I am South African. I've lived here in France for almost 3 years, but I do love home and I do love to visit home every once in a while. So I do want to show you a bit of African vibes because I mean all you ever see on my channel is Europe, so I'm just going to give you a different perspective. So stay tuned for the coming vlogs because it's definitely going to be about me being back home and all the stuff we get up to that side. So yeah, anyway, today's video is going to be all about, well, you know, how difficult is it to get a job really in France? Is it really that difficult? We're going to discuss that a bit because I do know I've had a few people ask me how I found the whole process, and I'm just going to give you a few of my, you know, tips and tricks, not tips and tricks, more like just things to look out for if you do decide that you want to maybe come and work in France. So if that's something that you're really interested in, I do sometimes do these types of videos to help you guys maneuver the whole moving abroad process, and you know, things that you normally wouldn't find in you know, on the government sites or something of that sort. So if you enjoy that type of content and you're looking to live abroad and you want to know more about it, do subscribe to my channel and click the notification bell for future videos that you are, you know, one of the first people to get on top of that if it does interest you. And for my already there subscribers, I see we are growing and I'm so excited to have you guys all here. So guys, let's go and enjoy some abroad time living advice and chill. Anyway, let's get to it. So in regards to living in France, I mean, I just want to give you a quick synopsis of me. I've been here for almost 3 years. As I said, I came here to do my MBA, and then thereafter I have been working. I did my stage, which is what you call an internship, in Luxembourg, and then I went on to work in banking. I'm in banking, that's my space, financial space, and I've been working in the capital markets space for the past 2 years, I guess, in France, in France, Paris specifically. So I do have a bit of a background of how it is to get a job this side, and I can give you a bit of a perspective of how I've experienced it and what you should look out for in regards to this. So firstly, I do think a lot of people will ask you this about, is French like a requirement? And I would say, lots of people would say, no, you can't find a job in France without English, but I will definitely say it's going to be hard. It will definitely be hard if you do not speak a word of French. I'm not speaking about being completely fluent in French. You don't need to be fluent in French, but you need to be able to communicate within the office, because for example, for me, I work in an international global space, so we do work with teams from across the world, and because of that, we speak English when we're working, but in regards to the office space and the office environment, everybody speaks French. That's just how it is. So you need to be able to have a colloquial conversation in French, not necessarily be courant, which is what they say. You don't have to be courant en français, mais en fait c'est important ça. Donc you do need to have a little bit of French. I would say a level of A2 B1 would be the best level to be at for you to actually find a job quite easily, because you're gonna have to do the interviews as well. The interviews will be in French, and so there are some jobs which you can find that are for English speakers, but I know from a lot of the people that I did my MBA with and people that I've met across the industry all over in general, people have said that it's very difficult to find a role that is completely English based. So there will always be some level of French that you just need to have in your kit of competencies or skills. So definitely it will make your life a lot more difficult if you do not speak a word of French. I really won't lie. I don't want to lie to you. I want to give it to you guys straight. So if you do want to come to France, really do think about that before embarking on that journey, because it will be a bit difficult. I mean, there are some roles which don't require it, but there's not that many. Majority of them will be in French. So get on top of that and you will be fine. You should be fine. A second point that I do need to make is that French are very elitist when it comes to the schools that you go to. In terms of your CV and what have you, they really do pay attention to what schools you went to. In France, there's such a thing as grandes écoles, which are the elite schools, which require you. It's not because in France you do have public universities, which everybody's actually allowed to enter. There's no requirements. There's no tests that are required for those universities. There are some which are elitist, like Sorbonne and Dauphine, but majority of them you can get in quite easily. So if you do not have one of the grandes écoles, if you do not do your studies in one of the grandes écoles, it might be difficult as well because of the fact that you're a foreigner to get a role. So I would suggest, if you do come here for studies, is that you look specifically at grande école schools and the top schools within that space as well, because they really do look at, if you want a good job in a good position in your first, when you land your first job here, then you do need to have one of the schools on your CV. It really does help, such as HEC or ESSEC are examples of some of the top ones that you should look into. So definitely do take that into consideration, because it's going to be a whole lot difficult for you to find a job if you do not come from one of the top schools in France, because they're very elitist like that. They might not even look at your CV if you don't have one of those. So definitely take that into consideration. Another thing is that obviously being a foreigner, you're going to have to be on a visa of some sort, and it's very difficult to get, it's not difficult, but it is difficult for the company itself to actually employ you, because in France there's a thing where if you work in France or work for a French company, the company decides to hire you, the company needs to prove why they chose you over another French citizen. So you need to have competency skills that they could not maybe perhaps have found in France, and that's the reason that they choose you. And for companies, a lot of the time it's a lot, it's a bit tricky for them. It's a lot of work, it's a lot of paperwork, it's a lot of documentation. So a lot of them might just be like, they want to just take a French resident, a French citizen instead of you, because the process of trying to prove that or getting a working permit is quite difficult. Like I said, you have to prove that. The other option though is that you get a talent visa, which is what I'm on. A talent visa literally means that you are a form of talent for the country, and therefore majority of the time the company, I do not believe that the company has to prove that they why you're better, because you're already on a talent visa. So and a talent visa is quite easy actually to get in France. If you study here, you do your masters here, you have to do your level of masters, yes, definitely for masters, and be paid a specific amount, for the company to be willing to pay you a specific amount for you to be considered a talent. So there is that option, but obviously it's going to be a lot more expensive for the company, and if they really want you, then they will obviously go through the process. But most of the time it is easier with the talent visa, but it's still not completely as easy as it would be if you were let's say a French citizen. If you do want me to do a bit of discussion on some of the different visa options that you can look into if you are interested in living in France, do let me know in the comments and I'll check that out for you guys. So yeah, so I'd say that it's difficult because based on the company having to choose you. It's like, okay, but like you seem more complicated than me just taking a French citizen. It's a lot more easier for them. So on that basis, it will be a bit more difficult for you to get a job. I'm sorry to be a Debbie Downer, but I'm just giving you the facts straight up, because I think it's important that you know what you're getting yourself into before you move here, and so that you're ready for whatever comes your way. Just letting you know. as I had mentioned before, your level of studies is also very important. Minimum, you need to have a master's level studying. It's the base now. Literally everywhere is the base. So if you have a master's, then it's a good start. But like I said, they also really do prefer people who studied in France. So if you can do a year or two here abroad, first, that would be the best method for you to move into the country, I would think. So I definitely do think that having studied in France has definitely opened up a lot more doors for me because of that than if I had just moved straight from South Africa and moved here and started looking for a job. They're a lot more open to it because they know the level of quality of education, and the fact that you've gone through their system for them is a plus. So that is something you can maybe look into if you do decide to come here. Another thing that we should know is that in France there's two types of contracts. There's a CDI and CDD. CDI is a long-term contract, which means it's infinite. So you're just a permanent employee, and a CDD has a specific amount of time, a set time. So a lot of what these companies are doing, because currently right now, because of the COVID situation, a lot of them are just offering a lot of more CDDs, which obviously for foreigner it's a lot more difficult for you to maneuver because it ends at a specific time, and when it ends, that means your work permit ends. I mean, there are ways to continue living in the country through I do believe being paid unemployment, and because you're being paid unemployment, then you can apply for a visa, but that's another process in itself. So if you are looking, and majority of the time though, you will start probably with the CDD so they can just check and see how you are, because it's very difficult for the French to fire anybody. The French working rights are really like top tier, so a lot of people don't just offer CDIs off of a whim. So you literally work to get a CDD. You literally work to get a CDI in France. So that's something you need to consider if you're one of those people who get scared of being on a contract and then you're not sure what's going to happen because you're in a foreign country. Those are things you need to be aware of, because a lot of French companies will start you off with a CDD and then convert your contract into a CDI if they believe that you are competent enough to and you are somebody that they want to keep in the team. So do bear that in mind. My final point would be that you should really, if you are a person who's scared to do a bit of networking, I don't know, because in France, literally it is about who you know. Literally, you need people send their CV. You send your CV to a colleague, to a person you've met through in networking events, what have you, and they can send your CV through to HR for you, and it makes it a lot easier. It's very difficult to just apply online and think you're gonna be chosen from the amount of the thousands of applications it gets. So I do think it's important that you're able to network and make connections with the right people so that they can help you in trying to get a job as well. That means you need to be here. So here's how I always tell people, if you want to live in France and your mission is to live and work in France, study in France first, because it gives you a chance to not only study but concentrate on that, but also concentrate on building your network so that you can actually utilize it when you need a job once you finally settle down and start working in France. So definitely networking is important in France. It's very, very important, and obviously that helps if you speak French. So do you see how all of this is all interlocked in together? So all of these factors are very important factors that I'm discussing. So do take them into consideration when you do decide to think about moving the side. It's very important that you know when you decide to move the side. So I do hope that I haven't discouraged you. Yes, the unemployment rate in France is one of the higher ones in Europe, but they have really great unemployment benefits. So I think a lot of people in France are not very worried about that because of that. But as a foreigner, it's a lot more difficult because you don't only have to worry about being paid, but you also have to worry about your visas and things like that. So I do think it's a very scary, it's a really scary experience, or new experience to go through. Anybody would say that, I think, and being a student and then going and working in another country, it's a lot. So I want to be able to help you the best way I can and give you the best advice that I can about how to best maneuver this. And I do hope this video has helped you, not discouraged you, it has helped you to get all these things in line before you decide to make the jump. Anyway, I do hope you've enjoyed this video with me today. Like I said, I'm going to be in and out of of YouTube for a bit, and I hope I'm gonna be able to stay, you know, on top of it, and I'm gonna be consistently uploading. It has changed. My loading days are now Sunday or Monday. It's sometimes a difference, I'm sure you've noticed. So Sunday or Monday, I'm always gonna upload. Those are my days, and I do hope I'm gonna be able to keep that up while I'm on travels back home. Until then, guys, I will see you in our next video. And do not give up your hopes and dreams. If it is what you want to make happen, you can. I've done it, and I'm here to help you maneuver this as well. So I hope to see you guys in the next episode, and the next vlog or video, whatever it is that we're gonna be doing. For now, it's au revoir, mes amis, and I'll see you guys next time. Bisous.